welcome back to my channel. I just first want to say thank you so much for everyone who has subscribed to my channel. I am so proud to say that I've reached 100 subscribers. I want to thank you again for all the love and support that you have shown so far. Right, so you clicked on this video. We're going to get right to it. In this video, we're going to be reviewing how to ask and answer questions in Spanish. Don't forget you can also follow me on Instagram. Without further ado, let's begin. So if you've watched some of my videos already, you might have seen my question examples like ¿Cómo se llama usted? Or ¿Quién es ella? So let's quickly review sentence formations. So when writing a sentence in Spanish, you need the subject, then the verb, and then the description or object. So let's look at our first two sample sentences. We have our first sentence here. It says, Jasmine tiene un gato grande. So our subject here is Jasmine. The verb is tiene, which means has. The object is gato, which is cat. And the adjective is grande, which is big. Here's our next sample sentence. Amanda es delgada. Our subject is Amanda. The verb es. And the adjective delgada, which means thin. Good job. Now, negative statements are used by using a negative immediately before the verb. Now, let's go ahead and look at our sample sentences using the negative statements. So we have our first sentence here. Jasmine no tiene un gato grande. So it says Jasmine does not have a big cat. And our next sentence, Amanda no es delgada. Or Amanda is not thin. Good job. Now let's go ahead and review how to ask and answer questions in Spanish. Questions in Spanish are formed by placing the subject after the verb, with the object or any description following the subject. Let's go ahead and look at some sample questions. So we have our first question here, where it asks, ¿Tiene hermanos, Jessica? So the verb in this sentence is tiene. Hermanos is brothers. The subject of the question is Jessica. So we're asking if Jessica has any brothers. And then we notice here that the verb is before the subject in this sentence. The verb in this sentence is tiene, which means has. Let's look at our next sample question. ¿Nació en abril Gabriel? So in this question, we're asking whether or not Gabriel was born in April. So nació here is the verb, which means born. And then we see the subject here, Gabriel, which is who we're speaking of. So again, the verb nació is before the subject, Gabriel. Great job. There are two ways you can answer a question in Spanish, positively or negatively. First, let's go ahead and review how to answer a question in Spanish positively. Now, to answer a question positively in Spanish, you need to use the correct tense. Let's look at a sample question and then the response in a positive answer. The question we're going to use is, ¿Hay libros en el salón de clase? Are there books in the classroom? So here, we have our new word, salón de clase, which is classroom. So to answer this question positively, we would say sí, which is yes, plus the verb. So the verb in this sentence is I. So sí, hay libros en el salón de clase. Yes, there are books in the classroom. Now to answer this question negatively, we would say no, no again, plus the verb. So this is how we would respond to this question negatively. No, no hay libros en el salón de clase. No, there's no books in the classroom. Great job. Let's go ahead and look at another question example and how to respond to that negatively. So we have the question here. ¿Hablan español ellos? Or do they speak Spanish? There are two ways you can respond to this question. You can say, no, ellos no hablan español. Or you can say, no, and tell them what language they speak. So for example, you can say, no, hablan alemán. Alemán. German. No, they speak German. Great job. Another way to ask questions in Spanish is by using interrogative words. Here's a list of interrogative words in Spanish that you can use. So we have ¿qué?, which means what, ¿cuándo?, which means when, ¿de quién?, which means whose, ¿dónde?, which means where, ¿cuántos?, which is how many, ¿cómo?, which means how, ¿cuál?, which means which, and finally, ¿por qué?, which means why. Good job! Now let's practice creating a question using interrogative words. So here's our first question. ¿Cuántos años tiene Kathy? Or, how old is Kathy? This is how we would respond to this question. Kathy tiene 14 años. Or, Kathy is 14 years old. Here's the next interrogative question. ¿Qué idioma habla Susana? Or, what language does Susana speak? The response? Susana habla japonés. Or, Susana speaks Japanese. Great job! Now let's review our 10 new learned words from today's lesson. So we have our first one. Tiene, which means has. Grande, which means big. Delgada, which means thin. Hermanos, which means brothers. Nació, born. Salón de clase, classroom. Español, Spanish. Alemán, German. 14 años, 14. And finally, Japonés, Japanese. Great job! That's all for today's video. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! So if you've already seen the title, I'm going to be reviewing how to ask. I already forgot. We're going to review asking it. Don't forget you can also follow me on Instagram. And don't forget you can like this video,
It's hard, isn't it?
Yeah, I stumble over my words. There was something else I needed to say. I thanked them. I said the title like 100 times on Instagram. That should be good.